Well, it's talk time. A month ago, Nigeria's Federal Executive Council approved 8 new universities, each of which were given a 3-year provisional license.
Now, a Nigerian lawmaker has reacted on the state of Nigerian universities and tasked Nigeria Universities Council to do more in ensuring quality education.
How did you open a newspaper at any given point that you will not see an avalanche of advertisements from different schools, many agents of theirs here in Nigeria, advertising for our young people to come and study in different schools abroad. Some of those schools, even in countries where we know English is not the official spoken language there. We find out that the NUC needs to play a deeper role in vetting not only each school that is advertised, even in the agents of such schools here, and we want to make sure that even nobody shall advertise anything as an agent of any foreign school unless it has first of all cleared everything with NUC.
All right, joining us in the studio right now is an associate professor. We have Nwagbara of the University of Lagos. Thanks for joining us on the program now.
Good morning, Paul.
Now, when it comes to education in Nigeria, a lot of people have said that the university system is not really living up to the expectation when it comes to the quality of students that are supposed to come out based on maybe the quality of education they get. What do you think is really the challenge within the system? You are there, so give us a picture.
Well, I don't completely agree with what you call your expectation.
Okay.
What is the expectation? So if we have a measurable expectation, we'll be able to know whether that standard or that expectation is met or not. But I want to assume that your expectation has to do with standard, quality, the measurable extent by which a graduate of a university has attained and is expected to meet. If that's the situation, then we would also say that that standard is not across board. It has to be discipline specific. It has to be time specific and demands of this. For instance, the expectations of a graduate, medical graduate wouldn't be the same as that of a law graduate.
All right.
So if we have these considerations and these specific issues, we'll talk. But generally, we can also say that, yes, there is a basic minimum that a graduate of a university should have. To a large extent, yes, one could say that maybe there are shortfalls, but it's not as bad as people have said it is. Again, know that universities are the optimal end. Universities receive people who are supposed to have specialized training, not basic training. So if at the basic level, issues are not handled well, at the post-basic level, there are flaws. Well, what do you think the universities will do? Let me take, for instance, expression. One of the ways you measure a graduate is the ability to articulate the person's field, to express himself or herself, to clearly put issues to basic logic, basic information presentation for understanding. If at the primary school level, at the secondary level, the person did not acquire basic expression skills,
Yes.
and the person comes to the university to study, for instance, law, a profession that would foster mainly on expression, how would the law profession go to teach this person first how to express oneself before teaching law? That flaw. So the universities are the receiving end of what's gone wrong at the earlier stages. But even at that, the universities have addressed some of these issues squarely, given the conditions available. But then, attaining that is where the question lies. How do you have the facilities? Have you been doing that to the extent at which you can do it? Many universities have also met that condition. The criticisms have sometimes also been taken out of context, but that's not to say that the universities cannot do better or should not do better. They can, they should, but the conditions that would warrant that are also things that we need to really look into. Nigerian universities do not operate in a vacuum. They operate in Nigeria.
Okay.
So the problems that are prevalent in Nigeria are the problems of Nigerian systems. Leaving that alone, you also say that the picture has been one-sided. is a matter of input. So we're looking at the system that inputs into a process. What of the process itself? What of those at the receiving end? Would you say that a good, well-trained set of lecturers would naturally, automatically produce good students? Well, the receiver also has to has a role to play. Then there's a process, which is the system that sustains both the student, the lecturer, the university itself, the processes that have to go through that.
Okay, so in terms of funding, how has this perhaps helped or mar at the churning out of, so to say, well-baked graduates?
Well, funding is significant. It's been contentious. Here, it is a problem. And the question now is, who funds? This opinion might not be quite popular with a lot of people. But do you not see it as an aberration that pre-primary education will be more expensive, will be better funded in Nigeria than university education, and they expect surprising outcomes? Where would it come from? If you have a child in a nursery school in Nigeria, you know that you pay an average of 300,000 to 500,000 a year on the average standard school. But if you have a postgraduate student, a doctoral student in a Nigerian university, that person pays about 1/3 of that same amount to have a doctoral degree. An undergraduate pays less than 10% of that amount to get a degree. There's something not wrong with it. What are primary schools, secondary schools? The same parents who can fund this kind of education would not want to fund that at the university level. So that's at the one level of it, where parents, this opinion is quite popular. I know that maybe by the time I leave here, colleagues, students, unions will take me on it.
So you want them to pay more, you want the students to pay more, really?
Not just students paying more, but I mean, how can you run a university where people don't make minimal payment? 20,000, 15,000. That includes rounding off hostels.
Yeah, but that's supposed to make education affordable for people.
And accessible, really.
And accessible for people.
Okay, if that's the argument, what level of education is being accessible here now? Primary or university?
No, but the example you gave earlier on about the students or children even paying as much as hundreds of thousands, they are all private schools. When it comes to public schools where government makes this education available and accessible to people, like in primary school, for instance, primary education is still free in Nigeria.
How many of these people who attended that kind of primary school have access to university education? Have you tried to find out?
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. Well, that's what we're talking about, the cost. Because if the cost is that high and they can't even afford to meet the minimum requirements or the minimum cost of education at that level, how do they meet it up at the
Or you're asking the government to hands off completely, not give money to the schools. So if the government is not giving anything at all to the schools, then the schools can allow the student to bear the brunt.
No. There are several ways of funding government for government-owned institutions, state and federal. Then private sector, where the proprietor or the establishing institution takes care of that. Then, mind you that the university has communities. There's the university community, there's the management itself, the authorities, you have the student community, you have the staff community that you can also sub-classify into two, the teaching and then the non-teaching. You have these communities. Then the university also serves some community. The graduates graduate into a certain place. Society benefits from it. So funding can be taken care of from these groups. So the establishing agency, government, in some instances, the private sector, if it's a private institution, would fund. Then students, their guardians and parents would also bring some funding. Then the community itself, the academic, non-academic, who are staff there, would attract funds. So that's where society comes in. How much is given to institutions in terms of grants, in terms of goodwill, in terms of research outcomes? For instance, all institutions, everybody, almost everybody, in fact, everybody benefits from research. Medical research, other forms of scientific research, social research. These are products that societies benefit from.
All right, let's take it from this window. The Federal Executive Council approved about 8 new private universities recently, and we are talking about, when it comes to ranking, universities in Nigeria don't rank anywhere close to universities even in South Africa, or even in Kenya, or in Egypt, as the case may be. Even on the African continent, Nigerian universities are not ranking well. They're not faring well on the index. And new universities are coming upstream. Do you think it shouldn't have been for us to approve more universities? Instead, there should be concentration on trying to ensure that the ones on ground should meet up some certain standards.
Well, approved for government or private sector?
For whatever it is.
Good, but the point is you're opening the space for more competition.
Okay.
And that can then advance. The competition would improve ranking, in a sense. But the point is, the issue of ranking has been something that you need to really look through to see. I have a facility, but I don't advertise it. So you don't know about it. But that facility is there, it is good. But it's not that. Find out the criteria for ranking. It's usually based on web presence, based on what you say you are doing and what is visible.
Just like you write lots of journal publications for
yes,
for the
you might be
lecturers.
writing
Yes.
lecturers' research outputs,
Yes.
research reports,
Yes.
papers. You might be writing them and not uploading them. They won't be known. You might be doing significant research and it's not projected.
Yeah, but
So the question now is,
it be projected?
universities in Nigeria, the web presence, that's where it should come.
Web presence.
The web presence
Okay.
of many of our universities
Yes.
should be there. You understand that? But also
Is
know,
it deliberate or is it shortcut?
it's not deliberate. The point is that maybe just do a rough check. Go through websites of many universities in Nigeria. Compare it to that of the countries we're talking about. You might discover that it might take you the next 10 minutes to try to open the web of a party of specific universities in Nigeria, and they might be big places. What we're saying then is that you might not blame entirely on the university. What's the cost of doing it? The sustenance, energy, electricity for projecting these things. And the laws that are constraining the universities from doing some of these things independently. I'm of the University of Lagos. For a long time, for more than 15 years of my stay in the university, we didn't have power outages. But now there's consistent power outages. The university cannot generate electricity. It has to make do with what's available. And within this process...
We have electrical engineering, and they are meant to come up with groundbreaking research, perhaps, to help generate power.
Oh, well, if you go to the report, you see that a whole lot of reports would have been made to government. But the laws are constraining. If you have the output, can you generate? You don't have the authority, the power to generate. Even if you have findings that can say that, you can only go around what's in existence. And for instance, electricity has to be supplied by PHCM to universities. Otherwise, you go and get up generators, then you buy petrol or diesel or gas to run those institutions. Whatever findings you have beyond these limitations will remain in the file.
I know, for instance, that a particular private university, a Covenant University, came up with some kind of research, and that particular environment is being powered by what they came up with.
What kind of power is that?
I'm not sure exactly now, but something like that, some kind of groundbreaking research and that independent power supply in that particular area.
Yeah,
and
they would have got the license to generate power. If you don't have the license, you can't. You know that. So the point is that even you take it beyond that, there are areas and areas, wonderful researchers. Have you wondered why Nigerian scholars suddenly get famous when they leave Nigeria? Just like our sportsmen and others. So it is something here. Our laws, policies, the operating environment that makes it a little tedious for systems to operate.
All right, Dr. Nwagbara, we don't have all the time right now, but this topic is something that we certainly have to get a second leg to dwell on, because the people need to really know what the challenges are and how we can find solutions to them. And we know that a lot of people, agencies, and even government listen to what you are saying. And as far as getting solutions are concerned, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We were talking with Associate Professor Austin Nwagbara of the University of Lagos, and we've been talking about the challenges in the funding of university education in Nigeria. We will certainly look for other times to dwell more on this. Time is against us now, but we have to come to the end of the program today. Thanks for staying with us on the program. I am Mike Okwocha. You can follow me and Busalami, but let me give you my Twitter handle at @Okwocha TVC for updates on issues across Nigeria and even Africa.
All right, and mine is at Abusi Sola TVC. All right, so you can follow me and let's have some chats over there. And Busolami Tumashi, many thanks for your time this morning on TVC Breakfast.
Bye for now.